Wow, I'm not ready for ratchet yet. Okay, let's hold off on this. Okay, the Guns Free School Zone Act, is that legal? 5, 4,
yes.
3, -5. Go ahead, Angelo. No, it's not legal. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's right. That's right. The Guns Free School Zone Act was the one example in interstate commerce that they struck down, so they couldn't actually regulate the guns. Give me other examples if you have them, or firsthand I see. What do you have? 5. Prostitution. What about prostitution? Zoom in on her. What about prostitution? No, come on, zoom in good, Leah. Come on. I mean, come on, take it in, Leah.
I got
what about
the
prostitution?
face.
I guess getting a prostitute in one state and then taking it over to another state.
Yeah, this is, we're talking about goods like French fries, or prostitution would be a service. Can you think of anything else that we talked about?
What, the Mann Act? Or is that?
Let's hold off on the Mann Act, because that's probably another answer somewhere. Anything else? 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, John Oliver.
If you bring a girl across state lines with bad intentions and the government...
Let's hold off on that, because that's the Mann Act. Have you got another one, though? Because there were a couple or 3 other ones that we talked about. Government could regulate by using the commerce power. 4, 3, 2. Go ahead.
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. What about Cracker Barrel?
Like the food where the eggs or the chicken or whatever the mix comes from, and they're coming into like whatever, South Carolina.
Cracker Barrel, the mix. No, we get
No,
things
like the
fresh.
pancakes.
The pancakes. Understand on this, you could demonstrate that a restaurant is engaged in interstate commerce by looking at the things that are there. And if so much as one thing crossed state lines, that opens them up to federal regulation. Or you could actually look at the license plates that are in the parking lot, and if they come from different states, so it could be the items or it could be the person, but either way it would be interstate. But what policies did government regulate using interstate commerce? Go ahead, you still have it.
Oh, they said that, like, I'm thinking correctly, they said, like, if there's one thing that comes from any other state, then you're open to, like, federal.
Yeah, so give me a specific policy. I think I've heard all this. Give me a specific policy. Go ahead.
Child labor.
Child labor was one of these that was struck down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we talked about if V works children in her factories, and in fact, Andy, you don't. Andy, right? Yeah, Andy, you don't. Then that means that you would have an advantage because your chairs would be less, and that would be unfair to you. Government struck down child labor because of interstate commerce effects. Anything else you can think of? Slavery? -5. Anything else? Yeah, y'all are out now. After slavery and prostitution, just yelling out answers. What I was looking for, I was looking for the buses. Remember Greyhound and Trailways dealing with civil rights? That was one of the first places. Go ahead, click it if you would. And I think y'all gave me the last correct answer, so pick me a category. And Nathan's group, John Oliver's group, don't fall asleep. Y'all got points here. Come on, get them. Pick me something.
Citizenship for 5.
Citizenship for 5. Social contract, firsthand I see. Yeah, it's you and then it's you. Go ahead. 5, 4, 3,
US is
2, 1. -5, go.
It's John Locke, and that like people, they give up certain rights to be governed by the government. They give up certain freedoms and rights for the protection.
For protections, yeah, they do. Go ahead, click that, Kelsey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Social contract. People are willing to give up some rights in order to gain some protections from government. And if you remember, John Locke was a social contract. Social contract and John Locke impacted Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson impacted the Declaration of Independence. So it all kind of falls into line. Go ahead, touch the house. Pick me a category. Gotta go.
Articles 4.
Articles for 4. Another Pictionary. Who's going to draw this one? All right, this is what I need you to draw. 1 minute. 1 minute, we'll put it on the floor. I need you to draw that. Got it? Got it?
Got this.
1 minute on the floor. This is from the Constitution. Oh my! What in the name of God? Whoa! Oh my God!
No, it doesn't look like it.
Is that a ghost? Teeth?
Yeah.
Oh, the dentist.
Yes.
She was too pretty.
Wow, you got got it. It is the dentist. Is what we're looking for on this. I would have never seen a tooth there. Oh my God, what the hell is that? Oh my God.
They're getting their braces tight.
1, 2, 3. I think was it 4?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
4. Okay, what was the significance of the dentist? Tell me the story.
So there was
And
a
first hand
dental,
I see has got it next. If someone, okay, you'll have it next. Go
there
ahead.
was a dental assistant, and she was.
What was her name? 5, 4.
Melissa.
Melissa what?
Nelson.
Nelson. It was Melissa. B just got something right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it was Melissa Nelson. And what happened to Melissa Nelson?
She got fired from her job because she was too pretty.
Yeah, the specific term in there was she was irresistibly attractive. What else can you tell me?
There was like an alleged affair between the dentist and her.
Yes.
And it came down to his wife or the dentist's wife really wanted to fire her because.
What was the dentist's wife's role in all this?
Did she work in like the office?
She worked in the front office.
She was the office manager is what she was. 1, 2, 3, 4. She was the office manager. So there was the dentist, the wife who was the office manager, and Melissa Nelson, the irresistibly attractive hygienist. And the wife who was the office manager wanted to fire her, and so he did. What was the outcome of all this? Because it went to court, right?
She didn't win.
She didn't win.
Yeah, they said that it was legal to fire her.
Said it wasn't.
Because they said that.
It wasn't nice, but.
Wasn't nice, but it wasn't illegal is what they said. And how'd the country react to this?
A lot of
5.
people were upset about it.
Yeah.
And what'd the court do?
They went back for a retrial, but then I don't.
They actually did go back and they had another
But
case,
then
and when they had this case, there was no new evidence, so this was really, really unusual.
And they said it was legal because they hired a.
Another
it
woman,
wasn't
another
discrimination.
female,
They said it wasn't gender discrimination because they hired another woman to replace her. What was significant about the court? 5.
It was
Oh.
it was 5 white men.
It was an all-male court, and they unanimously ruled against her the first time, and then they ruled against her the second time. First hand I see. There were some quotes that I gave y'all about this situation, wasn't there? Do you remember? Go ahead, Angela.
She said she asked him when like the last time he had, or like her sex life was dry.
Okay, you gotta go zoom in. Come on, Liam, go zoom in. You gotta get out. What say her sex life was dry? Get closer, Liam. You gotta zoom in on this.
She was complaining about how she hadn't had sex in a while, and
Okay.
she said it was like having a Lamborghini in the garage.
It was like having a Lamborghini in the garage and then not driving it. I think he said something else that was pretty harassing too, didn't he? 5. Go ahead.
So you could tell if your clothes are too revealing by the bulge in my pants.
If my pants are bulging, then your clothing is too revealing. Exactly what he said on this. See, I think they probably were having an affair, and the Iowa Supreme Court, State Supreme Court, didn't really want to get involved in this, so they did rule against her twice. And if you go back and you look, there were also text messages and things like that. Go ahead, click it, Kelsey. Pick me a category. Y'all are really close to the lead. Nathan and John Oliver, wake up. Wake up. Go ahead.
Is that miscellaneous for the last one?
No, don't worry about that last one. Don't worry about that last one.
In that case, Constitution for 4.
Constitution for 4. Pictionary. Oh, great. The last one of the day. Who's going to draw?
Yes. Can we guess? Or is it just for them?
It's just for them. Yeah, it's just for them.
Just see if they draw better than me.
Wow, I can't believe they got dentist out of that. That's some good quality stuff. Patrick, I need you to draw that. 1 minute. We'll start it on the 11.
We got a house.
Got it? Okay.
School.
If y'all need to move around, you can.
And this is for the Constitution, yeah?
This is for the Constitution.
Okay.
Wow, no guesses.
Is that a sandbox?
It is a sandbox. How'd you get that?
The pail?
Hell yeah.
The pale. Why's it always got to be pale? You know, I mean, y'all always got to say stuff about white folks. I don't really quite understand. It is the sandbox, and that was for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the significance of the sandbox from the Constitution chapter?
Separation of powers.
What is separation of powers?
Each branch kind of gets their own play toys or whatever, and they get certain powers. Like the executive has specific powers, but they can't kind of like do stuff on their own.
Each branch is going to have certain powers that only they can use. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if somebody else tries to use those powers, that's illegal. That's a violation of separation of powers. Can you give me an example of a power that Congress has, or the President has, or the courts have?
The President can veto.
President can veto. That might be a better example when we get to checks and balances. But can you give me an example of just a power that they have that they use to do things? Go ahead.
Well, Congress can declare war.
Only Congress has the power to declare war. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything else you can tell me?
The executive branch can deploy troops for 90 days.
Commander-in-Chief, exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Executive branch can. Anything else?
The courts can strike down laws as unconstitutional.
What's that called? 5.
Judicial review.
It is called judicial review. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these are really good examples. What is checks and balances?
Checks and balances are how they make sure that the other ones don't get out of hand. So judicial review is a check on Congress, and then Congress can impeach the president, which would be a check on the president, and the president can veto, and also is able to appoint judges.
Wow, there's a lot there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Checks and balances basically says that the president, the different branches of government are going to have checks to be able to stop the encroachment by the other branches. So Congress passes a law, the president can veto it. That's an example of a check that the president has. Congress can override the veto. Remember, we talked about 2/3 already. That's a Congress check. You mentioned judicial review, striking down laws, really good example. Or Congress and the president working together to appoint judges. That's a really good example of their check on the courts, because if they get their people in there, then they're going to act a little differently. Really good a piece there. Go ahead, click it. Pick me a category, and let's see what these scores are. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 68. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 105, 111, 2, and 10. Pick me a category.
Citizenship for 4 points.
Citizenship for 4. Process of a recall. How does recall work? First-hand I see. Go ahead.
I think it's when the people of like say we're in Rockville, the people of Rockville don't like the mayor of Rockville, and so they get people to sign a petition to like get him out of office.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't like your elected official, you can actually draft a petition, and then you're going to have to get what?
Signatures.
From whom?
From the citizen or the voters in your area.
Registered voters. You're going to get signatures from registered voters, usually 3 to 5% of the actual voting pool. And then once these are verified by the State Board of Elections, there's going to be a special election to recall. And it's not the president, maybe a governor, maybe a mayor, but these are going to be state or local officials. What are the 2 questions on a recall ballot? 2 questions.
Do you do you want to vote for, like, re-vote for the mayor who's already been
Do you
office?
want to recall the official?
And
So
then-
do recall or
Yeah.
remove. And if you say no, you're happy with that person, you're done at that
And then
point.
the second question would be to vote for whoever you
Yeah.
want.
Who do you want to replace them? Can you give me an example of a recall election that we talked about?
So California.
It was California. And what happened in that one?
So I forget the guy's name who was already in office, but it was Arnold Schwarzenegger was the big one. Who
Gray Davis was the California governor. He had not done anything illegal. He ultimately was removed, recalled from office. Governor Schwarzenegger would take over, or Arnold would become governor.
And another thing about that was, like, there's a lot of, like, people that probably shouldn't have.
Like what?
Like porn stars.
There was a porn star, Mary Carey Cook. Can you tell me anything else?
That one actor is always in, like, those workout things. In the
He had the
80s.
same name, but it wasn't him.
What was the name?
he was the
Eric. Oh. I must say Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman was on this. Another little what you talking about, Willis. Who was Mr. Goodbody though? What was that name? 5,
And
4, 3, 2. Go ahead, Jose. It was Richard Simmons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you think of anybody else that was on there that, or any like profession or something that was on there that seemed odd? 5.
It wasn't odd, but I remember Ted Kennedy was on there, or Ed Kennedy was on there.
Okay, there was a Kennedy on there. Sumo wrestlers, porn stars, strippers, Larry Flint from Hustler Magazine was on there. We went through some of these. There were cigarette retailers. The idea, though, is anybody, if they got that percentage, 3 to 5% of the signatures, they could then run to be governor. This was an example of direct democracy. Go ahead.